Argentina, France, Brazil, England, Spain. Whenever football fans talk about FIFA 2026, the same names keep coming up, the same favorites, the same superstars, the same predictions. But what if everyone is looking in the wrong direction? What if the team that shocks the world isn't one of the giants? What if the next World Cup's biggest story comes from a nation almost nobody expects? Because history has a warning for football fans. Every World Cup creates a surprise. A team that comes out of nowhere, a team that destroys predictions, a team that makes experts look foolish. And today we're talking about the one team that could shock FIFA 2026 more than anyone else. A team with world-class talent, a team with a dangerous new generation, a team that is quietly getting stronger while the football world looks elsewhere. And if everything goes right, they might not just surprise people, they might actually win the whole thing. The team we're talking about is Portugal. Have a strange problem. They're too good to be considered underdogs, but they're not considered favorites either. They're stuck in football's middle ground. When people discuss World Cup contenders, they immediately mention Argentina, France, Spain, Brazil, and England. Portugal often gets forgotten, and that may be the greatest advantage they could possibly have. Think about it. No endless media pressure, no constant predictions, no expectation of domination. While other teams carry the weight of an entire football world, Portugal quietly go about their business. And that's dangerous. Because football history shows that teams with less pressure often perform better when tournaments begin. Nobody expected Croatia to reach the 2018 World Cup final. Nobody expected Morocco to reach the 2022 World Cup semifinals. Nobody expected South Korea to shock the world in 2002. The biggest surprises often happen when nobody's paying attention, and right now not enough people are paying attention to Portugal. For years, Portugal's identity revolved around one man, Cristiano Ronaldo, one of the greatest players in football history, a global icon, a machine built for goals. But here's the most important thing about Portugal in 2026. This is no longer Ronaldo's team. It's a complete team, and that changes everything. Look across the squad. There is talent everywhere. Elite midfielders, creative playmakers, explosive wingers, technical defenders, reliable goalkeepers. Portugal may actually have the deepest squad in their modern history. That's a scary thought, because previous Portuguese teams often depended heavily on Ronaldo producing magic. Now they have multiple match winners. If one player struggles, another can step up. That makes them far more unpredictable and much harder to stop. Every football nation dreams about producing a golden generation, a period where talent seems to appear everywhere. Portugal may be living through one right now. The scary part? Most fans don't realize it. Young stars continue emerging. Established stars are entering their prime years. Experienced veterans still provide leadership. That's the perfect formula for tournament football. Too much youth creates inconsistency. Too much experience creates limitations. Portugal may have found the perfect balance. The squad is old enough to remain calm under pressure, young enough to compete with anyone physically, hungry enough to believe they can beat the biggest teams. And belief matters more than many fans think. World Cups are often decided by mentality, not talent, not tactics, mentality. And Portugal increasingly look like a team that believes its time is coming. Let's talk about what keeps defenders awake at night. Speed, creativity, movement, finishing. Portugal have all four. Modern football rewards teams that can attack in different ways. Some teams rely heavily on possession, others depend on counterattacks. The best teams can do both. Portugal are becoming one of those teams. They can dominate the ball. They can hit opponents on the break. They can attack through the wings. They can create through midfield. They can score from set pieces. That flexibility becomes incredibly valuable in a World Cup, because every opponent requires a different approach. The more ways you can hurt teams, the harder you become to stop, and Portugal have more attacking weapons than most fans realize. That's exactly why they could become one of FIFA 2026's biggest nightmares. Let's go back to Qatar 2022. One team shocked the world. Morocco. They defeated giants. They eliminated favorites. They reached the semifinals. And they changed football forever. Why? Because they proved something important. The gap between football's elite and everyone else is shrinking. Organization matters, belief matters, team chemistry matters. Portugal have all three. Unlike previous eras, modern football isn't dominated by a handful of nations. Upsets happen constantly. Favorites get exposed. Pressure destroys expectations. This creates opportunities. And Portugal are perfectly positioned to take advantage. Because while everyone focuses on the giants, Portugal quietly continue improving. World Cups are not won by talent alone. Great coaching matters. A lot. Every tournament eventually becomes a tactical battle. Managers must make adjustments, solve problems, react to injuries, handle pressure. The difference between success and failure often comes down to decisions made on the sidelines. Portugal's coaching setup has faced criticism in the past, but FIFA 2026 could be different. By the time the tournament arrives, Portugal's tactical identity should be clearer. Players will have more experience together. Chemistry will improve. Understanding will improve. And that's where dangerous teams emerge. Not necessarily the most talented teams, the most organized ones. Here's something strange. The stronger the favorites appear, the better it may be for Portugal. Why? Because everyone focuses on them. Media pressure increases. Expectations rise. Every mistake becomes a crisis. Every injury becomes a headline. Every draw creates panic. Meanwhile, Portugal remain in the shadows, and shadows are where surprises are born. Think about recent World Cups. The teams receiving the most attention often struggle. Pressure changes players. Pressure changes decisions. Pressure changes performances. Portugal may enter FIFA 2026 with far less pressure than Argentina, France, England, or Brazil. That psychological advantage could become enormous. Now let's be fair. Portugal are not perfect. No team is. Every potential champion has weaknesses. Portugal's biggest concern remains consistency. Sometimes they look unstoppable. Other times they look ordinary. Championship teams need consistency, especially in knockout football. A single bad game can end everything. One defensive mistake, one missed opportunity, one tactical error, and the dream disappears. If Portugal want to shock the world, they must solve this problem. They must deliver elite performances repeatedly, not occasionally, because World Cups don't reward potential, they reward execution. Football fans often assume World Cups belong to traditional giants, but history tells a different story. Nobody expected Italy in 1982. Nobody expected Croatia in 2018. Nobody expected Morocco in 2022. Every generation creates a surprise. Every tournament rewrites football history, and perhaps the biggest mistake fans make is believing the future will look exactly like the past. It never does. Football constantly evolves, power shifts, new stars emerge, new nations rise, the impossible becomes possible. That's what makes the World Cup magical, and that's why dismissing Portugal could be a huge mistake. Imagine this scenario. Portugal enter FIFA 2026 with little pressure. Their stars are healthy. Their young players continue developing. Team chemistry reaches its peak. The favorites struggle with injuries or expectations. Suddenly, the draw opens up. Confidence grows, momentum builds, one upset becomes two, two become three, and before the world realizes what's happening, Portugal are standing in a World Cup semi-final. At that point, anything becomes possible. That's the beauty of tournament football. You don't need to be perfect. You need to peak at the right moment. And Portugal may be perfectly built to do exactly that. Here's the dark truth. Most football fans don't evaluate teams objectively. They evaluate reputations. Big names receive attention. Smaller stories get ignored. Portugal suffer from this constantly. If the exact same squad wore the shirts of Brazil or France, many fans would call them favorites. But because it's Portugal, people hesitate, people doubt, people overlook them. That may prove to be a massive mistake. Because football doesn't care about reputation. It cares about performance. And Portugal have the talent to perform at the highest level. So who is the one team that could shock FIFA 2026? Not Argentina, not France, not Brazil, not England, not Spain, it's Portugal. A team with elite talent, a team with growing confidence, a team with dangerous attacking options, a team carrying far less pressure than the traditional favorites. Will they definitely win FIFA 2026? No. Football doesn't offer guarantees. But that's not the point. The point is that while everyone argues about the obvious contenders, Portugal are quietly building something special, something dangerous, something capable of surprising the entire football world. And if history teaches us anything, it's this. The next World Cup shock is already coming. The football world just hasn't noticed it yet. Maybe that shock will be Portugal. Maybe they'll fall short. But one thing is certain. Ignoring them would be a mistake. A very big mistake. Because when FIFA 2026 finally begins, the team nobody is talking about today could become the team everyone is talking about tomorrow. And that is why Portugal might be the one team that shocks FIFA 2026.